Of all the legends surrounding the story of Titanic, dogs being released, curses, mystery ships, and lost treasures, perhaps the one which has resonated the most over this century has been the tale of the ship's band. 8 real-life heroes who gathered on deck of the sinking liner to lift spirits of passengers being evacuated, playing cheery tunes, songs of hope, and with water almost at their feet, religious hymns to bring the stranded some resolution. Titanic's orchestra has been immortalized in all forms of media and books since Titanic went down in 1912. One recent publication is from Titanic historian George Behe, titled "Those Brave Fellows, The Last Hours of the Titanic's Band," and is a fascinating read full of survivor accounts throughout the voyage. A link has been provided where to get a copy, as anyone interested in Titanic's band, or just Titanic's history, should read it. Those Brave Fellows was one of our main references in this and other upcoming videos about Titanic's orchestra. We're going to divvy up the history of Titanic's band into several videos. This first one will give you not a backstory on who these brave men were, but what they did aboard Titanic, duties, schedule, and how they probably lived. An entire video must be dedicated to their lives and backstory, another for the songs they probably performed throughout the voyage, and then yet a final one to discuss that fateful April night. These 8 men were living in the golden age of trained musicians. With various backgrounds in formal musical training, they were employed by C.W. and F.N. Black of Liverpool. White Star requested a saloon orchestra and deck band for their steamers Olympic and Titanic. Now White Star, as did most British steamship lines, went with this method instead of hiring musicians as full-time crew on the payroll. They were independent contractors and not crew, just like how we here at THG need independent contractors outside of our own team to finish the game. In the papers for passengers, the White Star Line boasted an excellent orchestra aboard, and indeed, the men selected by the company had to be quite wonderful. Their last positions had them working on different ocean liners and in musical conservatories, and for this voyage they came from various parts of the United Kingdom, France, and Belgium. Like most independent tradesmen, the band members boarded ship with their own tools, instruments, except the pianist because, well, that would suck, and proper uniforms purchased and approved by the company. C.W. and F.N. Black is infamous for billing the family of one violinist after the disaster for the balance remaining on his uniform. However, when there was an uproar in the press, Black rescinded the bill. Due to their status as not crew but still crew, they had tiny cabins on E-deck very similar to second class in style and outfitting. One cabin aft, second class starboard, the other right next to the engine room, and the vibration was terrible. Luckily for them, they didn't need to sleep with their strings. Lockers adjacent to the cabins kept their instruments safe. Here in their staterooms, between performances, the band members would live and practice, while the band leaders would arrange what to perform. Some second-class passengers recalled hearing the band tuning up from across the corridors from their own berths throughout the voyage. Not to be mixed up with the rooster that was also somewhere in second class that went cock-a-doodle-doo every morning. These 2 cabins held 2 bands, as the group was broken up into a trio and quintet. On early Olympic, there were 2 quintets, due to a bandstand in the first-class restaurant, which was eventually removed for more places to sit. The band member arrangement on Titanic isn't totally certain, as there's no saved official list, nor enough documentation. But we have a good idea which instruments were in what group. This 5-man deck band consisted of 2 violinists, a cellist, a pianist who could double on the cello, and a bassist. With performances throughout the day in first and second class, their schedule was posted for passengers so they would never miss a concert. Sunny morning music in the second class entrance aft, high noon on the boat deck grand staircase, pre-dinner in the reception room on D-deck, back to second class before dinner for a sunset performance, post-dinner for the first class in the reception room where the band was in extreme demand, and a final nightcap concert around 10 p.m. in second class. It's this quintet which we always see highlighted in the films, always performing inaccurately at dinner time, and always in first class. And then there's the trio saloon band, playing periodically in the restaurant reception room on B-deck, and sometimes in second class according to some sources when the quintet was off duty. They consisted of 2 cellists, one who could also play the piano, and a violinist. It seems like they were a floating band. They were also designed to fit in nicely with the French theme around the Café Parisien and the a la carte restaurant. The quintet and sometimes the trio would perform in spaces specifically designed for them, As the piano was a keystone to any good arrangement, Titanic was outfitted with 3, which was for use for performances. The 2 pianos in the first and second class dining rooms were not used by the band. These were exclusively for church service on Sunday mornings, or hymns by the passengers if arranged by the stewards, which happened on the night of the 14th in second class. Perhaps the 2 pianists performed in the church service, but that is another mystery. Without getting into too much detail, all the pianos were from Steinway, bolted to the deck because they were on a ship and Titanic would still roll with the waves, and in first class, these pianos were outfitted very luxuriously by Harlan & Wolff. Olympic's reception room piano is still out there somewhere, sold at auction and last seen in the 1990s. Oh, I'll find you one day, my precious. The 2 bands would get together for major planned events at least once a voyage. Unfortunately for Titanic, she didn't live long enough to hold any of these, due to these usually being held at the end of the trip. Often occurring in first class with printed programs from the ship's printing shop, sometimes passengers would join in and sing along, especially if there were musical celebrities aboard. With there being a slight attendance fee, it was a collection for charities, as the band would raise money for the Sailors' Home Fund, Merchant Seamen's Orphanage, and other crew-related institutions. As these men were entertainers, they had to interact with passengers daily. With their personalities aside, they would behave as a member of the crew, but much more genial. As the only form of shipboard distraction, there's no cruise director yet, they brought enjoyment to the passengers. The concerts were highlights of the voyage and always fancied by the passengers. A quick word about dancing aboard the ships. If you watch the Titanic movie, you've seen happy passengers shaking a leg, either organized on a proper dance floor, some spontaneous shimmying around a makeshift band, or whatever this is. There was no official dance floor for any passengers.
I can't believe it!
No dancing on the cargo hatches. But that didn't stop some passengers from enjoying the music. In the super popular and packed reception room, literally it was so packed, passengers were sitting on the steps of the grand staircase to listen to the music after dinner. Some of the younger passengers were swaying and clapping along to their favorite musical hits, but you wouldn't see the tango, box step, Charleston, or Macarena until the 1920s. The orchestra provided a wide range of music: classical, opera, religious, waltzes, patriotic, ragtime, and more. With so many options, a songbook was provided to passengers if they wished to request a song. With over 300 choices in the book, sometimes it is believed the band knew all of them by heart, but the presence of music stands, cases for music sheets, and music sheets themselves found on the bodies of band members recovered from the water prove that this was not the case. These guys were already heroes enough. You really expected them to memorize over 300 songs?
Number 22.
And like all of Titanic's crew, even if they weren't technically crew, they worked hard aboard ship. And first-class passengers especially took notice of this when the music was really good. And passengers said that a lot about this band, with the exception being when they performed Wagner, but hey, it's Wagner. While White Star's official stance on tipping was, they're being paid, don't give them any more money, the company probably just turned a blind eye when passengers got together and collected a nice little sum for the band to split up amongst themselves. And indeed, letters home from the bandsmen talked about how excited they were of all the money and the opportunities that awaited them aboard this brand new grand ship, Titanic. That sums up the Prelude for Titanic's orchestra. Stay tuned for the other pieces coming up on Titanic University. Thanks for watching.